What up? What up? What up? Happy Friday. It's your man Dame DNYDC and my partner Big A Sam Adams. What's going on, Sarge? How we doing this lovely Friday evening?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little upset at the weather though, because like the past couple of days been like Hoochie Daddy short season, and like out of the wind. Next thing you know, I was exposing thigh meat for like 3 days, and now here it is. I got on like some joggers and had to toss on a hoodie and everything. I was a little upset about that, but other than that, I'm good. No complaints, no issue.
Yeah, I feel you, man. It's been mad. The weather here in the DMV area has been crazy. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Straight out
Mhm.
of Empire. You know what I'm saying? And we just trying to make it in. We here Fridays. I know, ladies and gentlemen, you've probably been used to seeing these two lovely mugs on Tuesday nights, but we've made a beautiful transition to we're gonna do some Friday night talks, man. Life happens. So you have to adjust accordingly. And I'm just again honored to still be rocking with my man, my brother, to bring you some fresh and funky conversations, man. And it's Friday, so we can get deeper with the shit. You know what I'm saying? And just kind of get down into the weeds. You see Sam with his March Madness. We're gonna talk about that tonight a little bit. Haven't been. I was a little late, with the whole March Madness thing. My goal was to have a few more people involved in our bracket and different things. And like I said, life
Right.
happens. But we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna keep it funky and keep things moving. But I wanted to kind of break in, man. We always start, when it comes to entertainment things, and one of the things that caught my eye over the last week or so, Kanye, Ye's always in
Oh,
in the right.
all right.
Yeah, he's always
Hey,
always. Mhm.
no,
Some
we
kind of
good,
shit.
we good.
No,
Yeah,
go ahead, because I know.
yes.
Go ahead. I'm like, go ahead, go
No,
ahead.
no, 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 no. I want you to just throw it out there because like I had to
I'm,
listen. Well, I had to listen to the track again, but I'm gonna give you my feedback in a minute. But like let's go ahead
okay,
and rock it.
cause that's where I'm going with it. Cause he stuck his hand in the bucket, grabbed the hand, and polished it, and threw it up against the wall. And he released this song, with his daughter and uh my man Diddy. He still giving out the lube and everything from jail. And it's odd, yet I want to give it some genius to it too, because this is typical from Kanye's playbook. These are type of things that he does. And the
Right.
song, I believe, is the Lonely Road, Still Go to Sunshine, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And he has his daughter Northwest, featured singing, on the track. And I mean, I guess you can say she's becoming, you know, uh, a musician and an artist in her own right. But
Right.
what's your take on the song itself? Because I had to listen to it about well, more than 3 or 4 times, and just to kind of wrap my head around it. But what's your take on the whole collab? First of all, which is the first and foremost issue that I want to touch on, because then there's Kim and the whole trademark
Hmm.
issue that comes behind it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's be. It felt like pandering to an extent, not with
Okay.
Northwest. You know what I'm saying? Um, because I know in the space and Kanye being an artist as well as a producer, those are certain traits and attributes that you get, that get passed on to your children and everything. The main
Right.
thing that I was upset about with that track was doggone King Combs verse. That thing was, bruh. Like I was like, and that's why I had to
Uh,
listen to it twice, right? Because I was just like the first time I was like, is this Negro trying to sound like Mace? Because that's what
yo,
that's the
Harlem
vibes
World.
that like.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
Harlem
listened
World in
to
the
it
building.
again, and I was like, how you sound like Diddy and Mace at the same time? It still ain't make no sense with it. Like the bars was like
Right.
horrendous, and uh,
Horrendous.
then with the little sound clips and everything that came along with Diddy and everything, that's where I get the pandering at, because to me, it felt more of like Ye being like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Like, I don't care about him, but this is what I'm doing, and just having it circulate and everything on the track the whole way through. It was, I say 15 minutes. It's like a 3-minute track, but it's like 15 minutes I can't take back, because I was really trying
get
to
it back.
Yeah, I was really trying to understand it, and I didn't understand it, and that made me like even more depressed. That like I even like when I saw you put it up here, I was like, man, like we have to go down this rabbit hole and everything.
That was the whole purpose. Because I felt the same way when I saw it. I said, "Oh, I got to Sam and I got to talk about this," because I know. I mean, I went through the same thing. I listened to it more than 2 times, but I just couldn't wrap my whole head around it. You know, you hit it like just the whole. I couldn't really get the ditty out of my head, but you're right. I couldn't I couldn't relate. Like, where's this other piece coming from? And you're so right.
Yeah.
It felt so Mace-ish. And the whole collab really was like, I can't get this time back, and part of it though, I can't get it out of my head. And that was part of the reason why I said, we're gonna have to talk about this. And then you go further into it, Kim is now upset. I guess, there was some understanding or whatever, it was leaked through TMZ about them, trademarking their children's name. And now he's using, Northwest in a way to be able to, I guess, I don't want to say glorify, but I guess I wouldn't want my child necessarily glorified along with, an alleged, because we still are in an allegedly,
throw them air quotes out there. Allegedly.
Yeah, right.
Sprinkle it.
But I mean, right. But we've seen thousands of bottles of Jiffy Lube going around, so we know that there's something going on back there. And as a parent, and being a parent, if your child was in this situation, or you were involved in a situation like this, like, how would you feel? And do you think the best thing would be just to go ahead and let the courts handle it? Because again, leaked really doesn't help the situation. And me personally, we can think whatever we want to think about Kim, but I kind of have to agree with her in this forum. Maybe there should have been more of a discussion on how we were going to use our children, and not to say use, but allowing them to perform as minors. Because I mean, we're talking about a brand here, and I'm curious, what's your take on that?
I mean, it's so tricky though, because I mean, how do you, of course, when it comes to it, guidelines need to be established and everything.
Right.
But at the same time, we know that Ye is a little bit off the rocket too. So it's like, how do you sit here? It has to go through the courts, but it's like, what limitations are you going to sit here and, what are you going to ask the judge to do or not to do to try to prevent something like this from not happening again? I think that's like the bigger item that you have to sit there and worry about. And at the same time, like, you look at Northwest, she's been pretty rebellious for a minute now. So she's coming out of her shell more and more, I want to say over like the past 2 years. So you have that tendency right there. Like, are you going to cage her? Because then at the same time, it's going to be even more complex when it comes to being in a 2-family home. And, and then she goes back to Kim, and how Kim is going to be able to sustain that. Because at the end of the day, she might be like, hey, I want to go back to my pops. Like, I don't want to sit here and deal with that. So it goes, back and forth with that. So it's going to be challenging, but it's like, if you do take it, like I said, if you do take it to the courts, like, what are you going to ask the judge to do?
True.
It's
interesting. It's an interesting take. I found it to be extremely hilarious to boot. But we're gonna leave it there, because Ye be doing what Ye does. Jasmine and Raleigh, thank you so much for joining us. We got Alex in the chat in the building. We got Ronell chopping it up with us. So thank you all, for joining us tonight. We're gonna transition to another issue, man. This was one of the wildest. How do I even say it? Man, I can only say it one way, bro. Like, the shit was wild. Like, we had an attack on the track. We had the young high schoolers And I apologize. I had the clip, but I didn't get it loaded up in time. But the young sister basically assaulted another track athlete as she was coming across lanes, and I'm gonna call it how I saw it. She busted in the head. I mean, the young girl ended up with a concussion and a cracked skull.
Hmm.
And
Yep.
not to make it a laughing matter, but when I watched the news clip of her explaining it, her arm, she's running and baton gets caught underneath her armpits. But the actual action of watching it, there's really no remorse, from my opinion, as to how you can even remotely say that it wasn't intentional. And I hope I'm saying this right, Alta Vis. Thank you for joining us. We got New York in the building. And
What's up, V?
I'm just curious to know from your perspective, just looking at it and the response. Uh, what was your take on that whole thing?
I think the response was ridiculous. Like, it was blatant. And like, I mean, when you look at it, when you look at the bin on the hunted, you know what I'm saying, on that back end right there, you can see that they were getting tangled up, trying to gain the lead and everything. And it just so happened that, the young lady that got concussed had the advantage. So out of frustration, that move was like
Right.
strictly some, like I was watching the tables, ladders, and chairs match on WWE or something like that.
Yeah, this shit was
Because it
crazy.
was uncalled for. And then on top of that, there was no apology.
At all.
Still no apology from the young lady. And maybe things change, but from what I've seen, I haven't seen an apology that came out. There was a lack of concern when she, went off the track,
Yep.
and went down. There was a lack of concern there from the coaching and staff at the track and field event. So like, it's really a bad look on that school.
Yeah.
And like, look, I get it. Like the young lady that allegedly assaulted the other one, like, you put your parents in a bad bind, because it's
Sure
like,
did.
I'm gonna stick with you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, you're wrong. I'm gonna stick with you, because they've been holding it down like the whole way through. Like, my baby's innocent, this and this and that and that.
Right.
And I know that they're probably looking at it from a different lens too, because maybe track and field is like her bread and butter,
Right.
as far as like, that next step after. I mean, she's a senior, so this is going to have an impact one way or another. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
You have prospects or scouts that come out to these events, looking for athletes and everything, for it to be in a public eye too.
Yeah.
I believe that makes it worse and everything too. And I really feel like if there was just an apology, we probably wouldn't be at the stance that we are now. But because she's
That
sticking to
part.
her guns, is making everything way worse, and it's going to have an impact on her for years. And I don't think that they're grasping that yet, because they're just looking at the short term.
And that's the part that really stood out. So I watched some of the other, she had conversation with her coach and her parents, her dad sitting there, and
Yeah.
she's crying. And I think, and my perspective of it was the cry or the crying was out of the fact, like, damn, I actually did do this to this girl live. This was
Hmm.
live in effect, right?
Yeah.
The whole world
Like,
saw
real
it.
time.
Right,
Yeah.
real time. So like, damn, I got caught with my hand in the cookie jar, and it was one of those things where, now how do I backtrack it? Because yeah, look, I'm not a track athlete, but I do understand,
Hmm.
track, there's spacing, like you said, coming around the curve, people are trying to
Yeah.
jostle for position. But just to even say that, my arm, we got caught and the baton, but when you're running, it's
Hmm.
usually up and down motion. It's not really a up and
Yeah.
forward, coming down motion. And it, like, to me, it's just embarrassing for her family, for the school. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. It
Hmm.
would have just, to me, came across better. We could have been more, not to say more, maybe more understanding that,
Right.
what, you got caught up in your emotions in the moment. Because that
Yep.
happens too. I get that. But just say it, that it was intentional for all intents and purposes. And look, I don't believe in sometimes young people having to go to jail, but I mean, to give a young woman a concussion and a
Right.
cracked skull, like, you
Hmm.
can't. There's really no coming back from that, man. And
No.
there needs to be some type of punishment that's doled out. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunate, but I mean, it's been trending, especially around here in the, up here in Northern Virginia. It seems like it's been on the news like every other day. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to talk about that. And talking about mayhem and craziness, man, cats up in the. I don't know. Look, I ain't been up to. I ain't been back home in a minute. But this is like the second or third story that I've seen and come across where somebody is just setting people on fire. They had
Yeah.
one where they set the lady on the train on fire.
Yeah.
This one here was
That
in
was
Times
like
Square
3 months ago.
3 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Literally, I mean, body frozen in time, burnt, on a
Mhm.
subway train. And this gentleman, he's in Times Square. And I'm trying to really I'm bringing this up because what the hell is going on in the world today? Do we really have to be that mindful of whether you are out somewhere, you go to church, like anywhere you go now, you have to be mindful. This man, somebody just came up with a spray bottle and,
Yeah.
and sprayed him down and set him on fire. And I thank goodness he lived through it. But
Mhm.
how do you feel now? Because I know sometimes now I find myself I'm doing double takes when I'm
Right.
out, head on a swivel. And I never used
Mhm.
to have to worry about that. What's your take on this madness that we're seeing more often than not in the world?
I mean, at the end of the day, well, you know me and my background. So
Mhm.
I'm constantly keeping my head on a swivel. Even though I have to eat facing the door,
Yeah.
even though I try
Yeah.
to be relaxed and you're out having fun, but you never know when
Yeah.
any and everything could sit here and pop off.
Mhm.
Um, I'm always the first one to go in the room and try to survey everything. But like now it has me even more hypersensitive,
Yeah.
to make sure that I'm checking my left and right limits.
Yep.
And the people around me, like you're looking at, now you're even being more cautious because, now you're looking at different looks. What does this
Yep.
individual have on?
Yep.
Oh, it's a gang of folks. Like, what are they doing? What are they getting into? And like, do I have to get all Liam Neeson on somebody or something like that?
Yeah,
And
man.
like, I just miss being able to go out and enjoy yourself.
That part.
And it's becoming far and few between to, that's why a lot of people just want to stay home. I got everything that I need right here. I got my video games, I got my social
Mhm.
media tools that I can sit here and hop on and holler at somebody. I got
Yep.
YouTube and 18 different streaming services that I know my ass don't need, but I have them. So
Right.
I could
Right.
order food, I could order liquor. So
You're
you
right.
have the conveniences, the things, and it's kind of sad. Like,
Mhm.
we used to be such an open and socializing environment,
Right.
but it's now you're being in Times Square, but you had certain events that got interrupted due to a shooting, a fight,
Right.
outbreak, something done pop off, and then as soon as you see it on TV, like it is, that's why I stay my ass at home. But you shouldn't, we shouldn't sit here and just be trapping ourselves in the confine of our homes, because then that makes us even more scared and even nervous to
Mm.
go out and socialize and
Yeah.
interact with people.
You hit that on the head
We
right
talked
there.
about it a couple of weeks ago, being at BlairCon, a couple of
Mhm.
weeks ago and everything. I know that there was people who have anxiety issues and everything, and they were being put out of their comfort zone just to sit here and be around other people that were like them too. And I know it took a lot of guts, so thank goodness there weren't any incidents like that, because that would have sat there and triggered something else. And you know now they would have been to the point, like, here I am risking, my
Hmm.
livelihood, or risking even coming outside for something I'm thinking that's supposed to be wholesome and fun,
Right.
and then on the flip side, some old rah-rah shit happens. So,
Yeah.
you never know. But like I say, I take precautions at all times. So like it
Yeah.
just like I said, just looking at it and seeing it, it just puts your head even more of a swivel, like, you're
It really
constantly,
does.
and then it takes away from you even enjoying what you're going there
That
to do,
that's where I
or
was going
getting
with it.
into.
Yeah.
So that's like the crappy part about it too, because you're more concerned about the people around you than actually enjoying, what's in front of you at the time.
And I think that's where I kind of go with it. It takes a lot of the enjoyment out. I don't feel like I can give
Hmm.
not even open up myself to the environment or to a lot of what's going on Because like you
Yeah.
said, now I find myself in that mode where I'm always near the closest exit. I'm always watching things coming in through the front door. I'm looking at people,
Exactly.
and it's not like, you're looking at people. Now you're looking at people differently. You're looking at
Mhm.
waistlines and you're looking for bulges and you're
Yep.
looking for anything out of the ordinary. And everybody else like, what's going on? Hey, Dane, what's wrong with you? And in your mind, though, you don't really want to come out and be like, you don't want to spoil everybody else's fun. And
Mhm.
like I do the same thing. If I can choose to control the environment, whether it be in my home or someone's home, like say yours, or somebody that I know,
Yeah.
that's different. But to actually be
Right.
out in an environment,
Mhm.
head on a swivel, and you're just kind of looking at things from a different lens. And
Mhm.
I wanted to bring this up too. For those of you out there listening, men, you have father, I have a daughter, get them to go to the gun range, get them
Mhm.
in a mode to where they can protect themselves. Same
Yep.
thing, gentlemen, look, even for yourself, your family. Just have to move a little bit differently during these times. Put yourself first, put your family first,
Yeah.
and don't take don't take some of these things for granted. Don't think that it can't happen to you, because it's happening a whole lot more than we actually realize. So that was my PSA soapbox moment. So we're gonna transition. So Sam's got the March Madness up, and it's that time of year now. March Madness used to be one of my favorite times of year. Now, if I'm honest, over the last year, I stopped really following as much because I don't know who's who and where's where and what's what. All of this conference realignment has,
Mhm.
even in my opinion, diluted it even more. There's, and it's a good thing too, in a way, because now you don't really have any more of these dominant programs. A lot of this one and done has really helped change the landscape. A lot of these mid majors are really just as good, if not better, than some of the blue blood universities. And I think we've seen that here in the first round that I've been watching. Some of these games have been a lot more competitive than they
Yeah.
have been in the past. And when you kind of look at your bracket and in the first round of things, have you seen any surprises or any teams that really stand out to you? That maybe to watch moving forward.
Um, I mean, you could go with the obvious ones. I didn't think that Cooper Flag was going to
Mm,
be ready today.
yeah, I did.
So that kind of put, like, I knew Duke will probably move into the next round, but if Cooper Flag is healthy, like, this probably is going to be Duke's tournament, like, all the way. Um, it's
Yeah,
always the 12 and 5 seeds too that you got to look out for.
always,
And if I could find it up
always.
here, because I got pissed off. Who played
Was
yesterday?
it the
Let me see if I can.
was it McNeese State?
Yeah,
Was
McNeese.
that the Clemson game? The
Yeah,
Clemson
but
game.
I mean, and on top of that, like, it's crazy because like the the SEC, they had a few people trickle in that shouldn't have been in, because I think they had the most out of, they got like
They had
18 teams within their
14.
conference and they had
No,
14.
they
Yeah,
had
exactly.
14. It's crazy.
But shit, I think they lost like half of them. You know what I'm
Half
saying?
of them
Some of
already.
them, yeah, some of them got washed early. ACC is another one too that with Clemson, it was somebody else that got dusted too. Clemson, they're not looking as tough, and that's crazy because ACC is normally like, Duke,
Yeah,
UNC, those
yeah.
are like your prominent teams
Well,
that
look,
comes out of that conference that sits here and grow. So to see
well,
them
that was a whole argument too,
sit
though. Like
here and
UNC getting in, that was an argument, right? Like they
yeah, they
they
were
kind of
arguing
got in
about
on
it.
the back end.
Yeah, and they got dusted real easily too to
Real
Mississippi.
easy.
So like
Yep.
it
Yep.
shows right there. So like you said, is y- really you have like 72 teams because you have these 11th seeds and these 16th seeds
Right.
that sit here
Right.
and vie in just trying to get into the tournament. Then you start with the round of 64 and then move on down to 32 and everything. But I feel like it's kind of challenging the track because we just see the big
Yeah.
schools. We don't see these sleepers like Minnie State, um,
Mhm.
VCU. Like, we didn't see that much coverage of them throughout the
Right.
tournament. You really don't hear nothing about the Big 12 and Mountain West. It was everything that was pushed on this side as far as like Big 10,
True.
ACC, and SEC. Those were the big ones that we were seeing. You know what I'm saying? Um,
Hmm.
and then it's kind of hard for us to sit here and
It's
like
funny.
gauge everyone else. You know, as far as like what their
Yeah,
potential is. So
it's true. Because I'm just sitting here looking like this. You're right. Like looking at the Big 12, because just from today's game, I want to say Baylor won. They beat the
mhm,
SEC team.
yep,
Who else? Well, Iowa State, they won. I think there was one other Big 12 team. And you're right. So like a lot of these, you know, East focus schools and some of the dominant
yeah,
schools really haven't really been as solid as some of these mid-level or lower conferences, if you will. And it's really been
yeah,
interesting to watch. And for me, like the biggest thing that I really enjoy, coming from New York, I see, my Red Storm, my Johnnies is back in there. Patino's got them in there. Not a great shooting team. I watched their game last night. I wanted to throw up because they're a terrible shooting team. And
yeah,
everything's like the NBA now. Everybody wants to jack up threes. And I'm like, dude, you're already 0 for 9. Like,
yeah.
when do you just go to the basket? Like,
Right.
so
Like, why are we
it's a
still
lot of
doing
that,
this?
but right. But when I look at this team, like you mentioned Duke, the brackets, I mean, March Madness, I'm kind of impressed with Florida State. I mean, Florida, not Florida State, Florida. I think Florida has a very good chance uh to really win it. Florida and Auburn are two teams that I really over the last week really sat down and watched. I know Auburn was coming off,
Yeah,
they lost like 3 or 4 of their last 5 games, but they lost to all teams that were in the top 15.
yeah. They
But
were getting in
they
an
have a lot
SEC
of
tournament too.
right. So they have a lot of talent, which is really impressive. And I think Florida, kind of a throwback to when the Joakim Noah Florida Gators, where they had like 5 guys that were very interchangeable, very athletic, and they play
Hmm.
very cohesively. I think Florida really has a great shot this year. Again, like you said, Cooper Flag. I think a lot is going to weigh on him and his health for Duke. But if
Right.
they have a hiccup, I think that really opens up the door for an Auburn or Florida. And low key, I think a team that a lot of people sleep on is Tennessee. I think Tennessee and those
Yeah.
teams again. We're talking about SEC teams, but I think they were the cream of the crop
Yeah.
in
Hmm.
the SEC, and I think low key they'll make a push. And I look for the tournament, man, really to heat up. Now that we've kind of got rid of the dead weight, if you will,
Yeah.
from the first weekend. And I mean that lovingly, whether they call them surprise upsets or not. I
Right.
mean, there was a lot of them. Like I'm looking like North Colorado State beat Memphis today. And Memphis was a 5 seed going against a 12 seed, which you just talked about.
Right.
Uh
I told you them 5 and
who else we
12s,
had? We had
man.
St.
Is
Mary's,
Yeah, but
the
to be
5 and
fair,
12s and the 7 and 10s.
yeah, but like you're talking about Colorado State is Mountain West now. I think
Yeah.
because the Pac-10 debunked or something like that. And no knock
Something like
against
that, yeah.
Memphis too. But like
Mhm.
and I know it gets to the point that like I said, I like the tournament because like a lot of conference talk that we're discussing right now, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
It doesn't.
Um
It doesn't.
to a T, but then you have to look at like it's always that strength of schedule too. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And maybe with Colorado State, like they had a heavier conference with the people that they were playing out on the West Coast than what Memphis was. They were
yeah.
probably playing people like in the Sun Belt and within their own conference. So there's that lack of competition per se. And then I think that
Mm,
Memphis was they won their championship too for their
yeah.
conference. So that's
Yeah.
probably their record in that conference win is probably what landed them that 5 seed too. So
Probably.
there's a couple of other factors in there, but then again, you just got some of these teams that are like straight monsters, and dark horses too. So I'm interested to
Look,
see how is McNeese State going to be our Cinderella team this year. You know,
I don't know. They
so
got the
I'm
best
I'm
hype. They got
curious
the
to
best
see.
hype man in the business.
They do.
You,
My
you,
man come out there with that
s-
looking like Radio Raheem with the chain and the doggone radio just blasting. You know what
best
I'm
hype
saying?
man in the business, son.
Yo, he be getting into it. I just be like, ooh, like, okay. Hey, look, when they won, I was over here. I was like,
Yay,
hey,
right.
you know
I
what
was
I'm saying? I
on
was
the
like, oh,
same
go
thing.
ahead, all right. You know, I'm saying, oh,
I
over
was
here
on the
rocking and
same
everything
thing.
too.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
like,
All
my
right.
man,
Okay. My man
Amir
should know.
Khan. That's his name. Go ahead, Amir Khan. Salute
I
to you,
loved
brother.
it. I loved it, man. For real. And to me, those are the little things that that really make March Madness what it is. When you find or you see these little quirky one-off type stories, from
Hmm.
these schools and the players, man, that to me, that's the purity of the game. And a
Yeah.
lot of things that we don't see. And that to me, that's helps make it more enjoyable, as a tournament. But like I said, I haven't watched it this year because like I said,
Yeah.
but the whole new landscape, I'm confused. I don't know what the
It is.
AAC is, and I don't know
Yeah,
what they are, man.
because there's so many realignments, and like the crazy part about it is you might have ACC teams that play in basketball, and it's so different from football just
Right.
because of how things are aligned too. So that makes it even more confusing too.
Yeah.
And we still haven't even dabbled into like the transfer portal and all that stuff, but
That.
I think that's neither here or there. Like you said, a lot of these folks are like one and done anyway,
Yep.
or the NIL can sit here and take somebody talents like just because they're
Sure
good
can.
on Maryland this year doesn't mean that they'll end up like at Drake or something like that
Yeah,
or
it's
more
true,
money
man.
and everything. Yeah.
I just hope that eventually college sports as a whole gets this
Yeah.
thing corrected. I think it's good. I like the NIL where we're giving young people an opportunity to make money. That's great.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you're allowing athletes to move just like coaches do, because coaches
Mhm.
come make promises and then they're gone, and now you're allowing
Yeah.
the students to do the same. That's great. But I think, and we've talked about it, there needs to be
Yeah.
some type of limit, cap,
Oh,
change,
yeah.
and process as how these transactions are happening, to make it a little more fluid for us as the fan.
Yeah.
It makes it a little frustrating when you can't keep pace. So, NCAA, I hope you're hearing, what we throwing down, and I want to transfer,
Okay.
and I want to hit the transfer portal and transfer to the NFL. And we're gonna talk a little free agency because it's been a while since we talked a little NFL, and we've
Yeah,
had a lot of
there's
moves,
been
man. I'm just looking at
uh,
some of this list that's happened.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a lot, and I'm just trying to figure out where to start. And one that I want to start. Let's just start with some of the bigger ones because we've seen a lot of changes with Seattle. Just a whole new change.
Yeah.
We had DK go to Pittsburgh.
Mhm.
We had
Yeah.
Geno go to the Raiders, and Cooper Cup and Sam Darnold coming to Seattle. So let's just start there. DK to the Steelers. Good, bad, or indifferent?
Good to a degree because I think that it will help with George Pickett, the other
Mm,
receiver that's there.
yep.
Bad because it's like who's going to throw him the ball. And
That part.
I mean, like, yo, I get it. Like, because they didn't they resign Russ?
So no,
No,
right now
no, no,
they're waiting on
no.
A Rod. That's what they waiting on.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's
but
right. Because he just toured a facility and everything today.
yeah, Russ did. Russ
Yeah.
did last week. Well,
Okay.
Russ was doing his tour in New York and other places,
Right.
and A Rod was there in
Yeah. He
Pittsburgh.
just.
And
I, I, uh, I I think that's the biggest question right there is who's going to sit here and keep DK and Pickett's happy when it comes to the ball being thrown to him.
Mhm.
Like, you got this 6'7" mountain of a receiver
Hell of a receiver.
who could be anybody off the line. Well, two of them because George
Yeah,
Pickens is good too. Like,
no
don't
slouch.
don't get it. So you got two viable weapons right there, but
Mhm.
if you don't have a doggone quarterback like that, to me, that's the issue. Like, that's the only way you make these receivers happy is one, they got to get the rock because there's quotas and bonuses and everything that they're going to be looking for. But if you don't have anybody that's going to make that attainable for them, then you know what I'm saying you're going to be back to square one. So that's where the challenge is at right now for DK
So
Metcalf
what?
in Seattle. I mean, in Pittsburgh.
So would you say, because we kind of started this last year when we looked at the whole Fields
Right.
and Russell Wilson thing. So we know Justin, and we're going to get to Justin in a minute. But
Yeah.
looking at that, do we just go ahead and sign Russell back? Because one thing I will say, Russell still has a pretty decent deep ball, and when you have two guys like this that basically can beat DBs off the line, and basically if you just throw it up, like you say, DK, he's a monster. He's a huge
Yeah.
human being. You just throw him up. He can still go vertical. And that part of Russell's game, from what I saw last year, that hasn't changed. It was just the offensive line. They really didn't give him a lot of protections, and there was times he made some bad throws, but you didn't have DK and Pickett on the field at the same time. So do you bite the bullet in Pittsburgh and you bring Russ back for one more and you get somebody in the draft? Or because I don't really see too many other options. I wouldn't put my money on A-Rod or Aaron Rodgers coming in, because I think that kind of diminishes just his vibe and his aura. Sometimes I just think sucks the air out of a room. So what do you think is the best route for Pittsburgh to go right now?
I mean, I don't want them to sign Russell back, if I'm being honest, because we talked about it in the middle of the season when Pittsburgh went on that win train. We talked about the teams that they beat, which was like Cleveland, doggone Tennessee, Jaguars, basically trash. You know what I'm saying?
Fool's goal. Yeah,
it was all fool's goal, and they couldn't, when they had Russ in that seat, and he depleted. You know what I'm saying? Had a rematch against Cleveland, he got trashed. Played against doggone Buffalo, got destroyed. Played against I think he played against the Jets, and they had 9 sacks or something like that, or maybe I'm thinking of another team. Either way it goes, he got strictly obliterated. Terrible. You know what I'm saying? So do I bring that back? You know what I'm saying? And am I looking for another 8-8 season or 9-8 season with a winning record, trying to just squeeze it in, or am I trying to win a Super Bowl? And then that makes it scary for Mike Tomlin too, because Mike Tomlin, I love Mike Tomlin to death.
I do too.
I appreciated everything that he's been doing up there in Pittsburgh and everything. But now it's getting to that point that because now we're talking about, hey, 19 seasons or 18 seasons in a row with a winning record, but post Roethlisberger, we have mediocre. Nothing to show. Yeah, we have nothing to show. Yeah, so that's where you get into it. I think they do need to draft the quarterback, but that's another issue that we have been having, because they really haven't been sitting here and developing the quarterbacks that they have been drafting too. At that aspect too, because they've had plenty over the course of 5-6 years. You know what I'm saying? Travinsky, Zach Randolph. Yeah. Who else did they have?
Mason
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph. Kenny Pickett.
Pickett, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
They've had some opportunities.
And that's the issue right here. You haven't grown any of them. They end up sitting here and going elsewhere. I think Kenny Pickett just re-signed, right?
No, he went to the Browns. The Browns actually.
Oh shit. Okay.
right. I said the same place. Shit. Okay.
Hey, look, I don't know what Pittsburgh going to do then. You know what I'm saying? So no, they signed that one dude who has 8 last names. I forgot his name.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. That was a recent. But that was just just somebody that they can say is in the quarterback room.
Just have somebody on the depth chart. But and then on the flip side, I want to bring Aaron in either. Look, y'all, Aaron Rodgers, Ron, that's my man's and everything. But there's still a disdain of how he left Green Bay, and leading up to him leaving Green Bay at that too. And even when he went to the Jets, there was a part of me that still wanted him to have some type of success. Because it felt like he needed that outlet. But year 1 he gets hurt, year 2 barely plays, and he's ghosting his throws too. And that's the issue that you have with Russell Wilson as well too. You see glimpses that be this could happen, but then on the flip side, Father Time is starting to rear their head too.
So I'm going to ask
and show out
on Aaron Rodgers. Let's just say as great as everybody wants to make him appear, it's so reminiscent of Brett Favre. Is he as great of a quarterback as people want you to believe? Because I say no. I think the hype train, because you've only all of these years you played 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah, 1 Super Bowl, 3 MVPs.
Okay.
But there's nothing else to show for that.
That part. So do we put him in that conversation of the Brady's of the world, the Paytons of the world?
Why you gotta do this to me right now,
I gotta
Daniel?
ask. We talking now. We talking, bro. We
Oh,
talking
bruh.
shit now.
Okay.
Let's be
Okay.
honest.
Okay. All right. All right. Ugh. If I'm gonna keep it a being, you know what I'm saying? Let me just go ahead and keep it funky right
Give
here.
it to me. Yeah, hell yeah.
No.
Thank you.
Because he had several opportunities to lead his team, and it's just like, do we consider Tony Romo one of the greats? You know what I'm saying?
Hell,
And he had plenty. Well, I know that's going to strike a nerve with you being in the conference and everything,
hell no.
but I'm just saying,
No.
like Tony Romo, until he hurt his back, like he was a monster, but he had that first round curse that he couldn't sit here and get the Cowboys, you know, to win a championship and everything.
Bruh, calling bullshit.
I blame on paper. On paper, I mean not Brett Favre, but Aaron Rodgers looked good. On paper, he looks good, but I don't think that you could. I don't think that you could put him with like Tom Brady, Steve Young,
Because that's how
Peyton
they portray
Manning.
him when they talk about him, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
even if we're looking at it, like Eli might be better than that damn AA run because he's a
My guy.
two-time
That's right. My guy.
winning Super Bowl
The-
champion.
That's right. The bumbling hick. The
Yeah.
poorer of the two Peytons or Mannings or
Mhm.
whatever. Yeah. I'm taking my guy every time. My guy is hella better than this guy that they want you to believe is so great. And like I said, is this so reminiscent of Brett Favre, you know, in
Yeah.
his prime and in his run? And I was like, you know, he only won one Super Bowl, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know, in all of his greatness, you know, he was a gunslinger. He was exciting for the game. Look, Aaron Rodgers, same thing. There was a time period where, like, yo, you watch those fourth quarter games to see what he does. You know, he was a gunslinger. But I think in the length and the breadth of his career, like I just had to sit back and be like, this dude is not really that great. I can't put him in that top echelon with, you know, Peyton
Nah.
or Montana. Hell,
Yeah.
even Elway. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't even breathe in that air. So I just wanted to ask him, as we
Yeah.
were talking about quarterbacks.
I mean, if
Geno.
he had Geno's, I mean, Geno needs he's overdue. Like he's been a traveling man for a long time. I just don't to be out there in Vegas because like Vegas ain't got nobody, and I ain't trying to be rude with it, but Vegas ain't got. I was looking at their depth chart, and it looked like random names. Like when you sit here and you create your own team, like you playing
Random name
Madden.
generator.
Yeah. Like they pop up. Like who's Hersowitz? Like I never. I was just like poor Geno.
Hey,
you know what I'm
but
saying?
look,
At least they kept Max Crosby because I really thought that
okay.
Max Crosby was going to sit here and kick rocks. Especially the way that Josh Jacobs been trying to recruit people to over there to Green Bay and everything. But like, the bad part about it is that the Raiders really haven't did anything with free agency to sit here. I think Geno might just be a Band-Aid. So
well, he's back with his coach. You know, Pete. They hired Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll's back. You know, he's love Pete. You know, he's 200 years old. He's beaten for all the time. He's back. And I mean, if anything, I think that gives continuity, at least, you know, from a head coach and coaching standpoint to a player who's familiar with what's going on. But I agree with you. I'm trying to figure out what in the heck was Geno thinking.
Yeah,
they must have hit him with that cush or something because he was like, "Man, I'm taking it. I'm flying up out of here." And that revolving door, same thing with Seattle again. We have Cooper Kupp, you know, who's made his way to Seattle now. And again, Seattle seems to have imploded from the inside out. And with him and now Sam Damn Darnold, you know, last year's Cinderella coming to Seattle as well. Like, does that really move a needle? Because we talked about it. I think one of the last things we talked about in the NFL season. Right. Okay. I don't think so either. Because I mean, looking at the Rams and the work that the Rams have done about you know, keeping a lot of players, bringing Devontae Adams into the fold as a replacement. And we talked about they look really solid as they closed out last season. Moving into this season, like they look really like primed and ready. One, just to take over the West, but to really maybe push a needle in the NFC. So, what do you think about those moves when you look at them with Seattle and LA out there in the West?
like you said, LA is scary. We talked about that, just how like they got into the playoffs and everything and what they did, or even while they were in the playoffs. So like I feel like if the Rams could continue off the hype of this previous season, hopefully they have a hella good health and health, strength, and conditioning coach. I believe that they are going to be the threat in the West. Sam Darnold, too. There's no knock against Cooper Kupp. They lost Tyler Lockett too.
Sure did.
I don't know what else Seattle's going to do. And now Seattle's going to look like one of those flyby teams. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how that's going to register with their fan base either. They lost a lot of players off of defense too, if I remember correctly too. So
they're it just imploded, man. Like,
they're really going to be starting from. I don't even want to say starting from scratch, but that's going to be one. You're in one of the most challenging conferences.
Agreed.
You know, within the NFC, and then two, like, you know, is Sam Darnold going to have? Sam Darnold's going to be looking like he was wearing that
right when he was the Jets.
Yeah, he's going to be looking like he was rocking that Jets green. And I mean, that's unfortunate for him because of how so successful he was in Minnesota. You know, until the playoffs hit. Then he got that lashing.
The shoe came off.
The soul and everything.
Right. Look, he was literally walking no shoes on, period. I mean, the whole damn thing came off. And speaking about, you know, the Jets, Jets, they I think came up when I look at it, they came up on a good one. I think this is a great marriage in the making by grabbing Justin Fields. And, you know, you and I think we were both high on not only his potential, but what he was doing in the framework within those 6 games that he did last year in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Going to New York, you know, it's a whole different media spotlight and a whole lot of different things, but the team itself now, what do you see or envision now with Justin Fields kind of taking the controls and the helms on the offensive side? And do they look a little more spectacular? Are they able to move the chains? Like, what do you see for the Jets in this upcoming season?
Well, we know what Justin Fields can do with his feet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? As far as like coming out the pocket, scrambling and everything. My only concern with him is, like we said before, I wanted him to stay in Pittsburgh. I just wanted them to make sure that they had like a really good QB coach that could sit here and nurture him and get him ready for the 2025-2026 season. Right. So that's the same expectations that I have with him moving to the Jets too. And just as long as the line is healthy too, because we saw that like the Jets the Steelers line was Tuesdays and Fridays straight trash. You know, so like I just hope one, build your line up, because we saw that Aaron Rodgers had issues with that because that line would collapse. You know what I'm saying? Like a foldable chair.
Yep.
And then on top of that, like build your line up, and then just get them a good QB coach. And they might want to bring in like another vet QB, not Russ or something like that. That's going to sit here and grow Justin too. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
If they could do that, because you look at Breece Hall, Sauce Gardner, I forgot the other receiver, but there's a lot of talent.
Wilson, Garrett Wilson, and everything. Yeah.
So there's a lot of talent that they have offensively, and I think that Justin Fields can, at least the Jets offense could capitalize off of that. So there's some decent expectations. Still need to work on defense, because their defense couldn't sit there and guard, block, tackle. Yeah, they couldn't do anything on defense. So
and it's funny, last year when we talked about it, coming in, their defense was expected to really be I guess the stronghold of the 3 units, and it just fell apart. And like I say, you know, I'm just hoping, like let's get Justin out there, let's get him the reps, let's put him in position to do what he does. Like I say, you know, give him his 1 or 2 reads. Your check down is the run. Pressure at your feet, get out the pocket, run. We know he can move the chains that way until we can kind of build a rhythm with him. Like you said, get him a good quarterback coach, a decent, if not above par veteran backup that can kind of come in and mentor him. I think the Jets really got this one right. But again, crazier things have happened in New York, and the Jets have been terrible for so damn long. I hate to say it's to be expected that it continues, but I think on this one, they actually have it right. And while we're still talking about quarterbacks, you had mentioned like the last time we talked about, potential quarterbacks going to Indianapolis and really, giving Richardson give him a go. Let's really see what the kid is about. And I want to say you had mentioned like, somebody like a Kirk Cousins and some other folks, but they settled on Danny Dimes coming from the Giants via Minnesota. Do you think that was a worthy? Yeah, okay. Because we on the same page. Because I was like, I don't know what they smoking in Indy. Have you watched this guy for 5 years?
Bruh.
This guy's
you
trash.
might as well have kept Joe Flacco if that was the case.
Thank
you. Yeah. He had issues, falling asleep on the sidelines and everything. But you know what? My man's was up there. But hey, you wake him up, you go out there,
he's gonna
throw a bomb, and you're good.
Right.
Exactly. You ain't got to worry about that.
Thank you.
But y'all choose Danny Dimes. You know what I'm saying?
Trash.
Oh my goodness.
They really want Richardson to keep the job because that's what that signaled to me. This is the guy that you signed to come compete. Like I said, look, Kirk Cousins is still out there. You have
Kirk
Flacco.
Cousins is froze.
He's frozen.
Atlanta.
Well, okay, you're right. He's froze, but I would have called Atlanta every day, all day, 10 times a day, because like I say, Flacco. Look, if I had to wheel him from the sidelines or on and off the field, no dose, whatever it is, he's still a better He's still a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. And I'm telling you, look here, I'm a Giants fan, people. I watched that shit for 5 years, and I mean stinking. It was terrible. So for them to invest, that just tells me that they're not really motivated to really challenge Anthony Richardson, who I think is a talent. But some guys, you need another guy. You need another alpha dog, a guy that's been there, that's done it, to really push him. And I think they're doing him a disservice. They're doing their fans a disservice. Hey, Indy fans, let me know what you think. Let me know how it works out. Hit us in the comments, because man,
we'll be watching. We'll be watching and disappointed with y'all as well. So don't worry about it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. All right with that.
Yeah, all right with that. And to wrap it up, with free agency, I think that the best news, if you're a Bengali fan, is look, they got their tandem back. They spent some hella dough, but I
which is
think
long overdue.
Well, no, agreed, and I think it was a great move. However, we talked about this too at some point.
I already know where you go.
Hello, defense. Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
So talk about that. Like in the long run, great for us as fans, but for the city of Cincinnati and the team, like where do we go from here?
I don't know where else there to go. I mean, you got hey, look, you got one half of you saw one half of the problem. You got T. Higgins back, you got Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow is happy. So that's fine. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're good on that side of the fence.
Right.
However, like I said, like your defense is a little fugazi. You know what I'm saying? So like what are we going to do? Offensive line, secondary, line, everything. You know what I'm saying? You need like the whole kit and caboodle, and it's like, what are we going to do? Because you probably ate up a lot of cap signing T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. So it's like now you're really going to be looking, I don't want to say the bottom of the barrel, but like, are we going to sit here and jeopardize like all our draft picks to try to sit here and beef up this defense a little bit? Or maybe they could sit here and try to pull somebody on an unrestricted side. Maybe a couple of vets and everything, but that's going to make it a little challenging too. So that's going to be a rough one. It's good when you see the offense out there and they're scoring, but it's just as bad when the defense ends up losing a score. You know what I'm saying? And next thing you know, the offense is right back out there on the field, so they get gassed out. Because your defense ain't holding up to their end. So
Yeah.
I mean,
So true.
we'll see.
We'll see, man. It'll be interesting. So that was it for our free agency in the NFL. And for those of you who are still here with us, I really appreciate you hanging around. And we're gonna have a little fun before we go to our next segment. And if you're here, and I'm going to throw this question out. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna give away a t-shirt, some gifts or something tonight. Person that can, drop it in the chat, let us know. Now, how many seasons has there been of Two Mics Up? And if you can drop that in the chat, you can answer that correctly. We'll try to connect, and we'll go ahead and give away a little merch, celebrating, and thank you all for watching and participating in tonight's show and following us along, our journey as we continue here on Two Mics Up. And we're coming to the back half, and we're going to talk a little NBA because, we're getting to that time. June is around the corner. We're around the last 13 or 15 games of the season, and things are kind of playing themselves out. But I want to talk about, NBA crossovers. Out the East. Got a ways to go on that one. But that would be a no, sis. But keep going. We're going to talk about NBA killer crossovers, and some of the most famous guys. And when I thought about this, because I was actually watching a promo or something on the NBA one night, and they just kind of brought this up, and I was like, that's a pretty good question. When you think about it, as soon as I saw the question, I came up with like 5 or 6 guys off the top of my head, and I'm curious for you, Sam, like who stands out when you think, maybe your top 2 or 3 guys that you will automatically say, oh, off the break, best killer crossovers that you've seen in your time watching the NBA.
I had it written down. Tim Hardaway.
No doubt. Definitely number 1.
Tim Hardaway. Derrick Rose.
Oh, good one. I didn't even have him on my list.
And then I say AI.
I like that. Man, you had 2 that I didn't have. And Ronell, I'm sorry. 3 is a no-go, but keep trying. So I like those, Derrick Rose definitely, I just kind of glossed over him, man, like thinking about that. Tim Hardaway,
when healthy. When healthy is
Chicago Derrick Rose. Those 5 6 year MVP Derrick Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, monster. And that blew slipped right by me. And I agree with Tim Hardaway. To me, I think is the number 1 killer crossover to play the game. He really brought a flair, a style, just the way that he just kind of moved his body and moved people with his crossover. I had to put Allen Iverson in the conversation. Definitely to me, and one of those, especially what he did to MJ. I mean, he put that one on the stage. What's up, Brandon? Man, I appreciate you joining us, man. Ain't no problem. Your time is on time, and I appreciate you being here. Just rocking with us, man. Couple other dudes that were my favorites that I think a lot of people slept on. Stevie Francis.
I was going to say Steve Francis too.
That dude was bad
down there in Houston.
Yeah, he was a bad dude. I think a lot of people sleep on it. And I got to put, in today's game, Kyrie is like the epitome of killer crossover, shake and bake. Probably, if I had to be honest, the purest, basketball handset skills, just dribbling.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a magician. Another dude that I think a lot of people slept on, and not because he was a Knick, but just watching him throughout his career, Jamal Crawford was a real slim, sneaky type dude, great handles, great crossover. And I'm gonna throw the beard in because the beard lately has been killing people with some handles too. And he's got that left-handed crossover move, which is kind of crazy. So those were my guys, and I just figured it would be a good way to kind of close up the segment as we move into the NBA Finals. And are you looking at any surprises? I mean, because I'm not gonna lie, we talked about the Lakers early on, and I was waiting for the wheels to fall off, but they figured out a way to navigate so far. So, the Lakers being one, are there any other surprises that you've seen so far from teams that maybe you've changed your opinion now as we're getting towards this point of the season that you really want to, pay attention to and see what they do moving into the playoffs?
I think the West is starting to show their dominance.
Mm.
Hopefully, you know, uh, Steph got hurt last night, so I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out like how much of an impact that's going to be with the Warriors. Um, and I'm still curious. Like, I don't think the Rockets get enough talk.
Mm.
But I
Speak
really
on it.
feel like they're a sleeper too.
Mm.
With
Like them
with
guys. Yeah.
how yeah, with just how the coaching is going. They're about to have young players for days. Just like with doggone OKC, because
Ooh.
OKC is in that boat that they're just going to be re-upping for like the
Mhm.
next 5 years as far as like their talent and everything.
Yeah.
So um the East is the East right now.
It is what it
Um
is, I think, in the East.
yeah, I
You're
mean, you
looking
have
at
like
three
your
teams,
dominant
really.
teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like there's no surprise there. I am eating crow a little bit because I know that we talked about this trade, and even though I was pissed that Luka went to Dallas, and you asked me if there was going to be any change, and I was like, nah, they still gonna be trash. Like these Bama's a goddamn number 2 and everything, and I'm upset at that.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, but I just don't know how that's going to carry in the playoffs because like you have 2 players, but it just takes one of them to get injured. So
Right.
whether it's Luka or LeBron, if one of those 2 get out during the playoffs, it's going to be a wash, no
Yeah.
matter who they play. And then I just think about like the uptick in the speed with a lot of these young teams, like we're talking about Houston, we're talking about OKC.
Yeah.
We have a new look doggone Warriors team.
Yeah.
So like, are they going to be able to keep up with the pace of some of these teams?
Yeah.
And I don't think with the branding, and when I say branding, I just mean like the caliber of talent that they have on the team. I don't see it being, and I could be eating crow again unless like Bronny shows up and start doing something, in the playoffs or something. But like
Bro,
I just
stop
don't
it.
I just don't see that. I don't see the both of them with LeBron being 41-40
Right.
and Luca, like, yeah, he gets his points, he gets his rebounds, he gets his assists, but like defense is still a little sus.
Yeah. And
So
that part, that's the part I'm
yeah.
more focused on. I too, we talked about, I'm surprised how well LA has done with the trade. It
Hmm.
seemed to be seamless. Guys are seem to be more comfortable jacking up threes. Jay Vincent and all of these other guys are coming
Yeah.
out of the woodworks, but I still don't see it on the defensive side. Uh,
Right.
a lot of nights it seems like they're out shooting other teams, which is great. But in the playoffs in the half court series, how is that going to play out? I'm a little skeptical on their bench. So I
Yeah.
too, like you, we're eating crow right now, and I think the Warriors to me probably are the most under the team that I really don't know how to peg. Obviously Jimmy Butler coming over has really re-energized them on the
Yeah.
defensive side while
Hmm.
still actually putting points on the board.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confounded by that because I didn't think they would be as good as they've been either. But I think we have
Exactly.
to
Yep.
tip our hat to the youth. I love Houston as a dark horse. Just the way Ime Adoka has got them playing. Jalen Green is a whole bunch of young talent that's
Hmm.
running around in Houston. It's going to be scary as heck to watch what they do. I think they're the ones to right now. If I had to put a team under the spotlight, would be them.
Yeah.
And really, OKC. Now it's time for OKC to rise. We saw what they
Mhm.
did last year. They came short in the playoffs. So now, does that experience help them? Because on par, looking at the season, talent wise, they have it from front to back. They have
Yeah.
interchangeable guys. SGA is a monster. So really, how they put it together in the playoffs is really the biggest question. In the East, I say it's a three team race. Is really not because the Knicks have been destroyed by Cleveland
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
Boston repetitively and repeat throughout this entire season. So
Yeah.
my Knicks are a number 3 seed. Just because they're a 3 seed doesn't mean they're in the equation. Boston and Cleveland have been the best teams, and I think in a 7-game series, the Celtics just have too much. I don't put a lot in on Spider and Cleveland's backcourt because they're just so small. in a half court game, if you put them in a pick and roll or you put them, in the post and play them from the post, I just don't see it. Even though Cleveland has some good big men, but I just think Boston has too much in the 7-game series. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
as we move forward.
And still, they're last year champs too. So
you got to give it to them.
You know what they say: to sit here to beat the man, you gotta beat the man.
You gotta beat the man.
Exactly. So that's what
Altavisa,
it's all about, right there.
Altavisa, I'm sorry, 6, getting close, but no cigar. And as we wrapping it up, you would like to close things out with a random topic. And you and I, we talked about, trying to figure out some things. The summer's coming, what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
We get that dead space. And I was bored. And I went back to pre-pandemic, well, not pandemic times when you really had nothing on but some really dumb stuff. And we had things. Oh, Ronell. Nope. No cigar. But we're in the ballpark. If you in your dead time, if you had the choice between these three, what would you, and these are underrated forms of entertainment, okay? If you had your choice, would you be interested in competitive dog dancing? It's canine freestyle. This sport actually combines obedience training with dance, showcasing the bond between dogs and their handlers, right? Or you would have escape rooms, these immersive experiences, with blending puzzle solving with live elements. Or would you like to do silent discos? We know the unique nightlife ain't right if you ain't got it all to yourself. Now, which of these?
Were you watching the Ocho or something like that? Like where did you get the
random shit, bro? I was bored.
I mean, if I had to choose something, I guess silent disco. Like, I'm not going to sit here and watch anything else. So yeah, I would go with silent disco. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was going for I think I do the escape room element. It's been a long time since I've done it. And it gives me something to think about. Then the other aspects. Okay, Altavisa, she down with the silent disco. She won't go ahead and pop to her own rhythm, giving herself a quiet yet energetic atmosphere. Ain't nothing wrong with that, Altavisa. I ain't mad at you. But there's some random shit that we just talking about, ladies and gentlemen. I just appreciate you all for just really sitting here and just rocking with us tonight as we sit here and we just talk madness and mayhem and have some fun on a Friday night. I want to thank you all. And so far, we haven't had anyone get tonight's question. How many seasons has there been of Two Mics Up? And I'm going to, we got somebody out to be. Ronell beat you to it. He said 9, but 9 is not the answer. But y'all are definitely in the ballpark. All right. And she caught me on the way out the door. Yes. Altavisa, you're right. We are here. Season 8 just started in March. We are rocking every Monday night. Celebrity
still
talk.
Trying. He one more in there. He was still trying.
Altavisa, she beat you to it. We're gonna connect. Altavisa, I'm gonna ask you if you have a pen and a piece of paper. I'm gonna put this email in that you can email. Put it in the chat. Put it out here for you. 11. Sorry, Rodnell. I pray to see 11. But you can email us at vp2micsup@gmail.com, Altavisa, and my team will work to get your information, and we'll send out some type of memorabilia, T-shirt. Give us your size if you don't mind. We want to make sure we get you right and get you fitted, and we'll send it out to you. And do us a favor: you get the shirt, take a picture, post it, let us know about it. Support Two Mics Up. I really appreciate you. And before we go, Sam, anything you got coming up on your schedule or anything that you would like to share before we close the doors on tonight's conversation?
You know, I'm actually kind of silent right now. I don't have much going on. I know WrestleMania is next month,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm good. Hosting. Same old. Just sitting here in the weeds of things, you know,
Okay.
gaming
Well,
and chilling and salute the
well,
service, all that good stuff. So yeah.
there you go. Well, look, get out there, get behind my brother Sam. You know, for those of you who game, you know, we're bringing in all new talk. We're going to be talking about wrestling, MMA. We're going to bring all of that to you. We're going to bring some gaming conversation. I know Sam was at BlurCon recently. We're going to work to get some of that information on the air. I want Sam to talk about, you know, it's an immersive event, and it should be supported, you know, especially by our community.
Yeah.
So we're going to take some time to talk about that in the coming weeks. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. I am Damon Cunningham, your humble host of Two Mics Up. You can follow Two Mics Up in our social media, IG, Facebook, got rid of that X, YouTube at Two Mics Up. Follow us online at www.twomicsup.com. We are the four-time award-winning talk show. We do it every week. Real talk, dope guests, some of the greatest, you know, if not the greatest audience in and around. Really appreciate you. Catch me Monday night, all new episode on my streaming channel, Infusion TV, part of the #1 network, the Mogul TV Global Network, all positive programming. Monday nights, 8 p.m. And like we do at the end of each and every segment and every show, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with a couple of things. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out.
007.